Hello everybody and welcome to the Winecast. This cast is another short cast on a particular grape varietal, and this time we'll be tackling Syrah. Despite what you might hear now and again, it's been well established these days that Syrah is native to France's northern Rhone valley, which you can see here circled on this map in the southeast corner of France. Syrah began life as a cross between the red Dureza grape and the white Mondeuse Blanche. Though DNA testing has established this origin pretty firmly, it hasn't revealed with any certainty when this cross took place, and precisely how old Syrah is remains an open question. You'll sometimes hear some arguments based on literary and historical evidence that the cross that created Syrah happened as much as 2,000 years ago. And while this isn't impossible, there are some reasons to be guardedly skeptical of that claim. Something you should be very skeptical of are any claims that Syrah is not originally from the Rhone, but either from Syracuse in Sicily or from the ancient Persian city of Shiraz. There's no good evidence for either of these claims, and they seem to be based entirely on folk etymologies because of the similar sounds between Syrah and the places named. Speaking of Shiraz, even though the grape is known as Syrah, or Syrah as the English insist on pronouncing it, in most of the Anglophone world, it is called Shiraz in Australia, and was also known there as Hermitage, the name of an important production area in France, up until the 1980s when the French government and later the EU worked to limit the use of that name to wines produced only in that location in France. In the northern Rhone, it's the only red grape grown in that area. And there are 5 appellations, Côte-Rôtie, Saint-Joseph, Hermitage, Crozes-Hermitage, and Cornas, that exclusively or almost exclusively produce red wines based on Syrah. In Côte-Rôtie, the Syrah may be co-fermented with up to 20% Viognier, a white grape, and in Saint-Joseph, Hermitage, and Crozes-Hermitage, the white grapes Roussanne and Marsanne can be added to the Syrah in small quantities. In Cornas, however, all of the wine in the bottle must be Syrah. It may seem odd to blend whites with reds, but the consensus is that a little of these varietals help to round out and often soften a very tannic grape like Syrah, and, perhaps counterintuitively, to deepen the red color of the Syrah when co-fermented and not just blended. It's worth noting that Viognier, a grape that may have a sibling relationship to Syrah, brings these qualities to the fore much more so than other white grapes, and the practice of co-fermenting it with Syrah is both alive and well in the Côte-Rôtie, and has been imitated in New World Syrahs, particularly in those from Australia. By contrast, the practice of blending Roussanne and Marsanne with Syrah is dying out in the other 3 appellations that permit it, and more producers from those appellations are moving toward 100% Syrah. Syrah is also an important player in the wines of the southern Rhone, though not as a single varietal but as a blending partner, usually with Grenache and Mourvedre and other grapes to create a style sometimes called GSM for the key varietals, Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre. You'll see the term GSM used primarily to refer to wines made in this style in the New World, especially in Australia and California. Finally, don't confuse Syrah with another red grape, Petit Syrah, even though their names are similar. Also known as Durif, Petit Syrah has a parent-child relationship with Syrah. It's a cross of Syrah and another red grape, Pelersin, so the two have a close relationship, but they produce very different wines from each other. Syrah's fortunes as a grape have definitely been on an upward trend over the past few years, and it went from being the 35th most planted grape in the world in 1990 to the 6th most planted in 2010. Currently, the world's top 3 producers are France, Australia, and Spain, followed by Argentina, South Africa, and the United States, with plantings there primarily in California and Washington state. Syrah shows a wide variety of characteristics depending on where the grape is planted, but some consistencies do emerge. First, the fruits tend to be black rather than red, with descriptors like blackberry and plum frequently mentioned by tasters. And while the fruit is important, lots of savory or earthy descriptors come up, like black pepper, tar, and smoke. And with some age, these can get really funky and interesting, with words like leather, tobacco, and smoked meat or charcuterie coming up. The acid tends to remain medium and can dip to low on occasions, while the tannins don't tend to stray too far from high. If you want to try some Syrah and are wondering where to start, the spiritual home of Syrah, the northern Rhone, is a good place for some 100% or near 100% examples of the varietal, while the southern Rhone can show you what it can do as a blending partner with other grapes. It's a minor partner in Spanish Priorat, and that can be similar to what's going on in the southern Rhone. But for a more varietally pure expression, check out the wines by the producer Marquès de Grignon, a house famous for bringing international varietals to Spain and then for doing interesting things with those varietals. In California, try some wines from Paso Robles or one of its new sub-AVAs, a region with a terroir very similar to the southern Rhone, and if you can find them, be on the lookout for wines from there produced by Tablas Creek, an extraordinary producer and major player in popularizing Rhone varietals in California. Washington has been producing more and more well-thought-of examples of Syrah lately, and though there are lots of interesting places in the state that are growing the grape, see if you can snag a bottle made from fruit grown in the Red Willow Vineyard in the state's Yakima Valley AVA. And please don't forget Australia, with important Shiraz plantings in Barossa, where the style will be big and bold, Riverina, and McLaren Vale. A particularly fine producer from Barossa is Yalumba, with great examples of varietally pure Syrah, Syrah Viognier blends, and Syrah Cab Sauv blends, all of which are important styles in Australia. Thanks for joining me for another Winecast. I hope this was informative and enjoyable for you, and please like or subscribe if it was. I always look forward to comments, so please leave me some. I'm your host, the Unknown Winecaster, and I'm out. Enjoy the grape, but always enjoy it responsibly.